This is the Business Growth Hacks Podcast, presented by Beefy Marketing. Here's your host, Andrew Brockenbush.
The coolest thing about doing a podcast is that the people out there don't know if I'm wearing pants or not. Well, I guess if you're watching YouTube and there's a full body shot, they might know. But I don't know. I don't know if they would know or not.
You don't think so?
I don't know. Can you see above? Can you see below the table right now?
No.
All right, good. Then I may or may not have pants on. And the other great thing about having a podcast is that I can eat a sandwich because this is not television. There's no rules. And although it is the driest sandwich I've ever eaten, I feel like we're doing an ASMR video.
Yeah. There it is.
Can you hear it?
I can hear it.
Wait. I think that leads into the question that I've got for you today.
All right.
What is your favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur?
You know, I think it's the freedom.
Yep.
Because, you know, you're an awesome boss. And
Thank you.
we got freedom. You know, I don't have to 9 to 5. I have to complete my job.
Yeah.
And that is such a relief for me. You know?
Yeah. I feel the same way. Like I know this sandwich metaphor is really ridiculous, but like we can kind of do our own thing. Like, yes, there is like structure to our business and our organization, but like, but there's like no, like, we don't really have a boss. Like, I mean, I'm the boss,
Right.
but it's like, I say that loosely because it's like, we're a team.
We are
And
a
I feel like
team.
we're a team before there's like this hierarchy of business. And I feel like that's the cool thing about entrepreneurship is that it offers the freedom of collaboration.
Right.
And the ability to kind of do things on your own, like how you want to do it, and
Right.
like what inspires you.
With, you know, guidance to stay on brand.
Exactly,
or,
with
you know.
intention and all that other stuff. And so, you know,
Yeah.
something as silly as eating this sandwich, it's like, hey, like we're hustling all day long. Like from the moment we got here this morning and cut our first podcast with one of our clients
To our lunch break now where we're cutting
our
Yeah.
podcast, and then another client call we have as soon as this is over, right? Like we are moving like crazy.
moving, yeah.
And so the fact that like we have the freedom to be able to do that now. As a small business owner, and you know, because entrepreneurs and small business owners, I feel like have a little bit different pain points, right? Like, small business owners have a different level of ownership, right? Like, there is a level of like responsibility for your employees and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's a little bit different of a freedom factor. When you're an entrepreneur, it's kind of like you can be as busy as you want and be as slow as you want. And if things kind of slow down, it's like, well, I'm only worrying about myself. So if we slow down, it's kind of like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Small business is a little different, right? Like we have the responsibility of saying like, yeah, I can slow down, but like my entire team feels that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, I know that I think other small business owners out there listening are like, freedom? What is freedom?
What does freedom mean?
Because small business ownership, I will say it is also a lot of work.
Well,
like
you're tied to it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, I want to just be an entrepreneur, I want to be a small business owner because I can just do whatever the heck I want. And it's like, it's
Not
there.
exactly.
It's there.
Because you still have to do the things that you need to do to keep your business running.
Exactly. And
There's still things that are going to happen.
100%. And I think that that's the one thing that, you know, some people get confused is like, they kind of think that it's gonna be this perfect dream job. And it's like, it is and it isn't. Like I had a conversation with Kara the other day about this because she was like, oh, like we're still kind of in like doing the you know, hamster wheel. And I was like, I don't think so.
No.
Like if tomorrow she wanted to go up to, you know, Illinois and visit her family for a week, she could.
Oh yeah.
As long as she still got her job done.
Yeah.
And everybody back home was doing their stuff to kind of support her, she could do that.
Yeah, and we would be glad to do
you know, and we'd be happy to. Just like, you know, there's days that you're telling me like, hey, my kids have got, you know, activities with the fair like last week.
Last week was crazy with the fair.
Crazy with the horse show and all that other stuff. And so, you know, it's like, hey, go do that.
Yeah,
like as long as everybody gets their stuff done, it's cool. And I think that that's what I am most inspired about being an entrepreneur and and a business owner is that although we technically have some, you know, boundaries and, you know, things that we have to be responsible for, it's still ours.
There's still that freedom. I know. I know for me, the kids thing has been really big because there's so much stuff that happens when they're growing up. And if you're working, you miss it. You know?
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to prioritize life and work and, you know, come back to that whole, you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you love what you're doing, even the tasks that you have to do to keep that perpetual motion going, it's going to be more enjoyable for you.
Yeah. And that's I'd say for the most part, all of us around here, I think any job, there's days that you're just like, oh my gosh.
Today.
Like, and we're not going to be the people that tell you like, oh, we love every single thing we do. And no, there's days that are frustrating.
We killed a pot of coffee before anything happened.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Just like there are days where there's like, it's a grind, but just the fact that like, it is fun. Like, and for the most part, like kind of the like, talk around the water cooler, if you will, is like always like the same kind of feeling. Like, we're having a blast.
Oh man, this was like, so fun today. Yeah.
I was like, that was cool. Like, there was like, okay, we've got some like, we're on the wire. We got some pressure here, but it's like, it's okay. We're having a good time.
We're having a good time doing it. Right?
And everybody on our team like jives,
they support each other really well. Hey, I need this to, come on in here and
let's knock it out. Quick. Yeah.
Like earlier, I recorded an ad with John the Marketer.
Exactly. John the Marketer.
He didn't have his studio set up because his is mobile.
Yep.
And so I was like, come on in.
So today we're going to be talking, let me back up here. So for the last few weeks, we've talked a lot about different types of marketing things. We talked about SEO. We talked about content marketing.
What to look for in a website.
Website designer.
Company,
so we've talked a lot about that, but we've not really kind of dived into like budgets.
No,
we
haven't.
And that's a big topic. And it's kind of scary because
it's talking about money.
It's money. And no one wants to ask the money question.
And
or ever have the money conversation, especially in sales, right? Like everyone's always like,
okay, now let's talk about how much it costs.
Like, well, all that sounds cool. What is it going to cost me?
Yeah.
More than half of all businesses, that's 60%, are planning to increase their Instagram budget, and almost half are planning to do the same for Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. That is a statistic that I found on HubSpot's website. And that was businesses that they interviewed all over the country. They also said that in 2020, which I know that was a year ago, almost half of all marketing budgets were going to be dedicated to the digital sphere.
I wonder if they came out with that statistic before or after
pre or post COVID, right? But I would say that
I don't know that it matters.
I would say that it probably went up after COVID.
Right. Yeah, that's what I would say.
People ask me, like, Andrew, how did y'all's businesses fare through the COVID situation? It was like, honestly, it was the best year of our entire existence.
Right.
It's like, well, why? Well, it's like, because businesses realized the importance of being online.
Right.
The only way to stay open was to be online.
We kind of drove home the new brick and mortar message with that.
That's right. And we've talked about that concept a couple of times over the last few weeks. And so I think that it is important to like really evaluate like, okay, how am I spending my money on marketing?
Right.
Especially how does that apply to digital?
And how much?
What should you be thinking about? What questions should you be asking? And
because even before coming up with how much, what do you want?
Exactly.
Because you're not going to go out trying to buy a Lamborghini with the budget for a Ford Taurus. I mean, if you do,
Ford Fiesta.
And if you make that deal, please come contact us.
Let me know how much that is. Let me know where I can get one of those deals.
And we would love to do that. But
now, I think a lot of times people think when they think about marketing as a whole, they think a lot more about traditional marketing, right? Things like
newspapers,
TV commercials, billboards.
Oh yeah,
cold calling.
Definitely.
Like those are the things that most people are considered traditional marketing techniques that they use to get leads, right? But we're going to be talking a little bit more about the digital side of those things. And the reason why is because those things, yes, there's some still of those that are effective, but I think that there's this whole other side that is like paving the way.
Yeah, it's like a new highway coming up,
Yeah, I mean, you think about traditional advertising, there is definitely a time and place for it. Like we just did a big billboard campaign for one of our clients. And in their case, it made sense because we put the billboard up right across the street from their business.
Right.
It was massive and they depend on foot traffic, essentially people coming in.
Right.
So it made sense. It was it's basically directional signage. It's just like, hey, look, we're right here. We're right here. So it makes sense for them. But when you think about marketing just as a whole, what I love about digital marketing and kind of the progression from traditional is that if someone looks at that billboard, you're paying for impressions. You're paying for the fact that they say that 10,000 cars go by that and you're going to get 10,000 impressions. And that's cool. But like, other than them telling you that, you do not know for sure the data that you got.
Well, and did everybody look up that drove by, or did they actually read the billboard?
Did they call from the billboard?
Were they just playing the alphabet game and got an A off of it or something?
And the great thing about digital is that you can track all of that.
Yeah.
Right? From the moment they click on an ad to the moment they land on your website to the downloads of a podcast. You can
follow where they're going.
You can follow that journey. And you can also, what's so cool about that too is like, if something is screwed up in the funnel, you can fix it.
Exactly. That's
with a billboard. It's kind of like, oh shit, we already printed that.
And it's printed. Now we got to pay to print another
Either
one.
print it again, or we'll just let it run for 6 months.
And granted, you're even seeing billboards that traditional come into the digital age with the new LED.
That's right. And mainly because they knew that messaging had to change.
Yep.
Right. Because messaging changes. Like you see like the, I like the dynamic billboards, like, not Windex, Rain-X will run a commercial when it's raining outside on a digital billboard.
Right,
like that's really clever. So it can be more targeted versus traditional, print billboards. And so it's like everything digital is taking the lead.
It is.
And so I want to talk to you guys about kind of just the 7 tips for setting the perfect digital marketing budget. The things that you can ask yourself, and I say 7, I don't know, you know me, like it'll be 4, 2, 7, 13.
Well, there's a few.
There's a few here. All right. I think the first thing we have to do with digital marketing is define your purpose. And I think that we've talked a lot about this over the last few weeks. It's not a new topic. It's not something that I think business owners are, clueless about. Yeah. But you have to ask yourself, what do you want your marketing campaigns to achieve?
Right.
Right? Like, do you need new customers?
Right.
Is it brand awareness?
Do you need sales?
Is it careers? Like I have a client for the longest time. He told me, I don't care about getting leads off my website. Right. I need people to basically come work for us.
Gotcha. So that would change
a completely different type of
way that you're going to market.
That's right.
And it changes your niche market too. Yeah.
And some people advertise for brand loyalty and brand awareness. Like there's just a lot of different, like, what do you want to get out of it?
Right. Yeah. Or do you just want to increase revenue?
Yeah. And that's usually
the
biggest one.
Yeah. We want more money. Yeah.
And it could be a mix of both. It could be a mix of all of those. It could be just, whatever. But the point is you have to know what your end goal is in order to know how to map out how you're going to get there. Right. One of the biggest mistakes you can make in business is trying to do everything at once. You can't spread yourself too thin. We are guilty of this. I'm not going to lie. I think all small business owners tend to be guilty of spreading themselves too thin.
Especially when you hit a hot streak.
Yeah, because you're like, let's just do it all.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is it is a great way to lose money.
Yeah.
Because you're trying your best to do all of it at the same time.
It's a quote right there.
Right? But you're not going to see the results you want.
Right.
Not if there wasn't a clear plan.
Well, and if you're not at your best, you're not producing your best work.
That's right.
And so that could lead to simple mistakes like, a tag being wrong on a shirt. And then you got to reprint up 50 to 100 shirts.
We just had that happen, didn't we, John?
That's why I brought it up, but I wasn't going to get specific.
It's all good. The point is you got to define what your purpose is. Yeah. Is it brand awareness? Is it sales? Is it loyalty? Is it referrals? Is it, job.
Right. You're trying to hire people.
Yeah. Whatever it is, define what that is first before you ever think about how much money you're going to spend.
Make sure you clearly know exactly what you're going to do. And, it probably would be good to know what you want to do, to look at what you've done.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You've got to learn from your past.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you how many times I talk to companies, and one of the first questions I ask them, is what have you guys done in the past?
Yeah.
Was it successful?
Yeah.
Did it fail? I had one person reach out to me just recently, super nice lady, and she said, "Hey, we pay for Facebook ads right now. It gets us quite a few leads, but we're thinking about bringing that over to you." And I'm thinking, I appreciate that. Like that's an honor,
right?
But if it's working,
why?
I don't want to try to have to reinvent that for you.
Yeah.
Not saying that we couldn't be as successul or even more successful, but it's like. It sounds like right now it's working.
Unless you want to change your goals, it's probably not the best move for you.
Yeah, and it's like, are you unhappy with them? And the answer was no. Like we love them, they're great. And it's like, well, then don't I would love to work with you, but don't do that. Like if it's working, I would hate to you say bring it over to me, and then all of a sudden I don't kill it.
Yeah,
and it's like whoopsies. Because now I'm kind of set up for failure out of the gate. Because I have to take, that company's already had the time to say, oh, that didn't work. Oh, that didn't work. And they've learned from their mistakes to build you a strategy.
Right.
So you've got to learn from your past. You've got to look at what have you done that's worked.
Right.
For example, if you're doing trade shows.
Oh, yeah.
And they're getting results for you. Okay, then maybe you should still put time into that traditional vertical.
But
if you know that you've done trade shows for the last 10 years and you've never got a single freaking sale.
Yeah.
Then stop wasting your money.
And unless you were enjoying doing it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's purely like vacation type.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if it's good for team building or whatever else, then it might not be worth it. I think that's a great point. Is that sometimes you're doing something just for mental wellness and you're doing it for the team morale or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
But as long as you're kind of considering that in your overall marketing budget and you're saying, you know what, this is not marketing money really.
Right.
Because you don't want to say, well, we're already spending $50,000 on marketing. It's like, well, yeah, but you're doing that thing because you like to do that thing.
That's your Christmas party.
Like it's not because it actually is helping grow the bottom line.
Right. Exactly.
I think there's other things you can look at beyond just types of verticals like billboards or Facebook ads or social media, whatever. I think the other component is seasonally or, annually, where are times in the year that you slowed down or you picked up? What happened
during those times?
What was it? Was it something you did from a marketing perspective?
Right.
Was it just the industry? Was it, I just think if you evaluate that, if you look at the past and you say like, oh, damn, like it looks like historically we always kill it in March. Yeah. It's like, well, why?
Well, yeah.
Like, let's drill down.
If you're a t-shirt company, you're probably going to sell more t-shirts from like May to August, September, and then from October to, back around to May.
And swimming pool companies, we were just joking about our friend that has a pool company. Yeah. And we were like, dude, you kind of started your pool company a little late in the season because he just opened it. And it's like, dude, people are it's going to be cold by the time they actually get their pools built, which, hey, I mean, whatever. If they're going to build it, they'll build it. But I think that same thing for his business. He might see like a bit of a lull in these next few months. But I bet coming at the beginning of the year, springtime, people are going to be like, ooh, we can't wait. We want to have a pool for the summer. Right. And he's going to see the business just crank. So what does that mean? Does he have to spend as much marketing dollars during those times of the year? Maybe not.
Maybe not because it's not the time that it's going to be hot for him.
Yeah. It might already be like those times of the year might already produce naturally. It's organic, right? Like somebody wants a pool. They're looking for it. They're Googling it. Yeah. Yes, there needs to be a baseline of marketing.
Yeah. You could run into the problem where you got too much work too. Like, no, we don't need to market right now because we don't need to sell any more of that.
And so you have to say like, okay, we need to look at those historic things and say, okay, we need to spend more marketing dollars in October because we're going to really, really slow down and it's going to hurt.
Slow down. And that would be a good time for that pool company to run some sort of campaign of get ready for next summer.
That's right.
Do you want your pool ready for the spring? Buy it today.
That's right. Get it discounted now. Get it on the books now.
Those sales that you were going to make next year, you could make now.
That's right. That's exactly right. And it'll be easier for you and your customers because they won't be in this long queue
of when am I going to buy this or, when
am I going to get my pool? And there's a shortage on pumps because everyone buys their pools right now. It's like, hey, dude, if you buy it right now, things are a little cheaper. There's a lot more resources available. My team is flexible. We don't have 50 jobs. We only have 2 jobs.
It's raining right now. So it's like the ground is softer.
It's like, it's good. It's good right all the way around. And so I think that that's, I just want to get that across, like learn from your past. If you're a startup or you're not old enough to have kind of those patterns, maybe check out your top competitors. Yeah. Look at their businesses.
Definitely. Right. If you've never looked at your competitor, I would say stop listening right now and go pause, come back, go look at your competitor. Because if you have never even looked at what you're up against, how do you even know how to play the game?
Yeah. Look, I'm guilty of this and I hear people say it all the time. Like, I don't have competitors. And it's like, look, dude, whether you believe it or not,
there's somebody
thinks that you're their competitor. So it's like if they think you're their competitor, then it's like being an athlete, right?
Right.
It's like I might not think anybody's a better athlete than me, so I'm like, I'm not worried about anybody. But there's that underdog in the wings
pumping it and grinding
saying like, oh, okay, all right, look at he's killing it. Yeah. And what's gonna happen is all of a sudden that dude is gonna surpass me because I was not having like enough humility to evaluate and say, oh, you know what? There is people that I need to watch. And it's like, I'd say even for the way we price our services, like I think sometimes our services are a little too cheap for what we do. Which
sometimes,
is, I like being affordable and it's my passion for small businesses. But at the same time, it's like, wait a second, like that is not always a good thing. I think I've shared a story like, with you before, but I have sent a proposal before and offered what I thought was like just the best price. I was making money. Yeah. I thought the customer was going to love the price. Yeah. And then they came back and declined it. And I was like, hey, why didn't you go with me? And they were like, well, because all your competitors, everyone else we got a quote from was 5 to 6 times more expensive than you. So we thought you weren't actually proficient in this area.
Wow.
So it was actually a logo design project. We were charging, I think at the time, $2,500, $3,000, somewhere in that ballpark. And it was a lot of work we put into these branding jobs, but we thought that was a reasonable price. Every one of our competition was charging somewhere between $10,000 to $20,000. Yeah. And we lost a big branding job, one that we would have loved to have. And they came back to us later and they were like, dude, you just weren't charging enough. And it was like, what?
Yeah, that doesn't blow my...
Who says I wasn't charging? What? It was so confusing, but that is important. You've got to look at your competition.
Yeah.
You've got to see. So especially those businesses that are fresh and new.
Would a Bentley be a Bentley if it didn't have that price tag?
That's right. You're right. I mean? Yeah, 100%. And would a Bentley be where it's at today if it wasn't looking at Lexus and BMW and all these other, these high, sports cars or whatever you want to call them, luxury vehicles, and looking at them and saying, they've raised the bar. They've set a new benchmark. We've got to keep pushing that. We've got to, which I think flows us into
once you set the standard, you got
to, get with the times.
Yep.
Right. It flows us right into one of our tips there. You know, it's like trends come and go, but as a business owner, it would behoove you to keep track of them all. Right.
Yeah. I think it would be much more beneficial for you to try to be a trendsetter than a trend follower.
Yeah. 100%, which I love that, these two kind of go together, but it's like, yes, get with the times.
Yeah. Know what's going on, but be you in that time.
That's right. And get ahead.
Yeah.
Like, don't just get with the times. Like, I feel like that's what COVID did for 50% of the businesses out there.
It made them analyze what was going on.
I think it forced people to get with the times.
Yeah.
But now that everyone's on a level playing field, got a few stragglers still saying like, meh. But I'd say for the most part, COVID kind of forced the playing field to be level.
For digital marketing, 100%.
Everyone's like, oh shit, we've got to take this stuff seriously. Yeah, we've got to be on a website. We've got to have social media. We've got to have a blog, podcast, whatever. Right?
Overnight, that was the only way to do business anymore for a bit.
Like some people didn't even know how to use Zoom. And now it is like one of the largest, daily user platforms that there are.
Blows my mind.
And it's like, I've been using Zoom forever. Like,
me too.
Just like
I remember when I was so mad it was freezing up because everybody was on.
Everyone's like, come on. Like, you guys ruined it for all of us. But, don't just get with the times. Don't just, we should do social media. It's like, you should have done social media 10 years ago when social media came out. Right? Like, now is the time to not just get with the times, but to get ahead of those times. Right. It is time for you to say, imagine this. Imagine when I'll take it way back. Imagine when like Google dropped. Imagine when Facebook came out. Imagine,
when Yahoo came out way back.
Yeah.
People invested in it and people thought they were nuts.
And look at these platforms now. Yeah. Just imagine if you invested in Google.
Oh yeah.
You'd be
back
a
on
billionaire.
The ground floor.
No joke. Yeah. If you'd have put a couple $1,000s into Google, I'd imagine you'd be a billionaire.
And
same thing with Bitcoin.
Support small business, guys.
Yeah.
It grows.
So it's like, you got to get with it and you got to get ahead of it. So now, when you hear people kind of saying like, oh, are you on TikTok? And you're going, I don't do that TikTok thing. Well, you better, right? Because it's the next thing.
It's what's coming up. And it may be a trend that goes by the wayside. And that's why you need to be you and stay true to your brand.
Exactly.
But be who you are in the new platform.
Yeah, and I love that because TikTok might not be the best platform for you.
Yeah.
There might not be a way for you to, offer value in that space.
Right.
And that's okay. And it's better that you evaluate that and say, it's not a good fit for me. But don't say that it's not for me just because you don't want to do it.
Right.
Or you're not willing to put the time to learn it.
Yeah.
Or the resources into doing it.
Find someone in your company that is interested in that platform.
That's right.
If you're not.
And look at your competition. It goes back to that.
I know on the Rod Ryan show, I'm pretty sure they divvy up the social accounts among everybody that's a host.
Like a host? Oh, that's cool.
I'm pretty sure.
I think you've got to look at, again, look at your competition because it's like, if you're like, well, there's no way a pool company could be successful on TikTok. Dude, I wouldn't have thought that somebody who cleans cars, like details cars, would be successful on TikTok.
The things people will watch is ridiculous.
Weird. But honestly, dude, I love those detailed TikTok.
Some of those detail videos are really cool to watch.
Damn, dude, like,
look what he did.
I want to get those chemicals. They clean that. It was like I saw recently, it's like this car they detailed and like you use one of these little brushes and some type of chemical. And I thought that the car was beige. And when he was done wiping it clean, it was like white. And I was like,
goodness.
Ew, like that is gross.
Gross.
And so
dirty car.
I think that's the big lesson there is, obviously get ahead of the times, do all that, but also evaluate, which platforms are best for you, how you can use it.
Yeah.
Because if you were one of the first people that, hops on that train when email campaigns first dropped, when SMS marketing dropped, and you were on that, you're going to see the highest amount of success.
Exactly.
Like Clubhouse.
Because you're
Clubhouse is something we're just getting into because we know, right? We're a little late.
We're staying with
we're trying to stay
catching
with
up, right? Yeah.
Right? I wish we were a little more ahead.
I do too.
But we're staying on it. But the people that were on that platform 6 months ago, a year ago, when it came out, dude, they've got millions of followers and they're getting mad sales from it because they were the ones that set the standard.
Yeah.
Right. They started building their audiences in those platforms. I think that rolls into our next, kind of next point is decide on your platforms.
Right. Yeah.
We've talked a lot about this over the last few weeks.
But where you're going to go,
which platforms are best for you? Is it, is it your website? Is it a podcast?
Right.
Is it YouTube? Is it Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter?
And most likely it's a combination thereof.
That's exactly right. And I think, again, it does require a little bit more research on your part.
Right.
If you feel like TikTok could be good for you, do a little research on TikTok. Go search your niche and see if you find someone that's in your niche that's doing what you're doing.
If there's no one,
you
install it and start it.
Yeah, because you stand to be the best. You stand to be the person for that piece of content. And if there is, then learn from what they're doing.
Yeah.
Improve upon it. Follow the trends. It's okay to be on trends occasionally. You look at all the major brands, Coke, Dr. Pepper, anybody, right? I just said 2 soda brands, but any of the major brands, those are all on TikTok and they are leveraging those.
Everybody.
They're commenting on people's content. They are, leveraging the trends.
They're
all
engaging people.
But it goes back to what is their purpose? Somebody like the Houston Astros, go Stros, sponsoring, commenting on some random baseball post on the internet.
Yeah.
Right. What is that for? Their goal is not sales.
No.
It's brand awareness.
They
want people thinking about the Astros. Because when they're thinking about the Astros, then they start thinking about other things like, we should visit Houston. We should go do tours. We should go catch a ball game while we're in town. It's about brand awareness, right? So it goes back to what is your purpose on these platforms?
Right.
Most importantly of all the things that I can share with you guys about digital marketing, and the thing that we really kind of started this thing off with was just the big, money question, right?
Yeah. How much?
You got to do the math.
Yeah.
Right. If you're ready to commit to a dollar amount, right? You're like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to do this thing. I'm going to be on this platform and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And you've got those concrete goals in mind.
Yeah.
Well, now you got to just do a little bit further research, right? You've got to figure out, which platforms you're going to pursue. What is it, what does it cost to, produce Facebook ads? What does it cost to put a podcast on?
Yeah. Logistically, what is it going to cost you?
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's going to be different, right? But here's the thing that's so hard about marketing budgets in general is that there are a variety of different types of agencies.
Absolutely.
Small business agencies like ourselves who have a really kind of entry-level price point for small businesses that are really manageable, upwards of these high-profile social or marketing agencies that they require a lot bigger of a budget. You need a $10,000 a month retainer, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's just a different product.
It is.
Right? We have clients that pay upwards of, $6,000 or $7,000 a month. And we have clients who pay as cheap as, $300 a month.
Right.
And so it just depends on what you want.
What you need.
Your goals. Again, it goes all back to that. And so the cool thing about all of this is that it's going to progress. It's going to change.
Right.
It's going to evolve.
Well, any investment, if you've invested any money, you might have seen it dip.
Yep.
But you've also seen it go up. And, if you don't put anything in, you're not going to see it do anything. So if you invest $0 into your digital marketing budget, you're going to see zero happen on your social media and your digital marketing.
That's right. Yeah. If you're not putting anything there, you're not putting out, whether it's time or money.
Right. If you're not putting anything in, you're going to see nothing.
That's right. Yeah.
So social media is one of those digital marketing platforms where you don't have to have money. You can use time,
Yeah.
And for small business owners, that's big.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So basically what you can do is take all the estimated costs that you kind of have in mind.
Right.
Okay, it's going to cost me, and I'm going to throw some numbers out there because I know that people are kind of like, Andrew, don't leave us hanging without numbers.
Right.
I'd say a custom website with management, I'd say for a company like us, we charge somewhere in the ballparks of, $400 or $500 a month. That's a custom site with management and maintenance and hosting. Right. SEO, something like that might cost you in the ballparks of $500 a month or a little bit more. That's one of those spaces that's kind of based on your competition and your niche and how many are you trying to rank locally, you're trying to rank nationally, those kind of things. So paid advertising, I'd say I usually recommend people spend no less than $1,000 a month on paid advertising if they truly want to get
see
results and kind of be able to get that data you need to say, okay, well, it's going to cost me more like 100 to acquire a customer instead of 5.
Yeah.
But you need to spend enough that you can get that data set, right? the big thing to remember is your marketing budget should be up to 12% of your revenue.
Right.
So when you're kind of doing all the math, right? Okay, it's going to cost me $1,200 a month for a podcast. It's going to cost me $1,200 a month for a blog.
Yep.
It's going to cost me $500 for SEO. Well, okay, now we're at what? $3,000, a little under $3,000 a month, something like that. Now look at that, and that's $3,000 a month times 12, $36,000 a year is your marketing budget per se. Is that 12% of your overall revenue?
Right.
If not,
if it's 100%, you probably shouldn't spend that much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if it's 1%, you're probably spending not enough.
Too little.
Yeah. You might be like, oh, it just costs too much. It's like, well, are you getting the results you want with the small amount you're spending? Because if the answer is no, then it sounds to me like you're not actually investing enough into your business. And we all know that like it takes money to make money.
Oh yeah.
Right? You've got to put into it. Just like you said a minute ago. If you're not putting money or time into it, you're not going to get results out of it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I want to leave you guys with that statistic is that it should be up to 12% of your revenue. That's a fair amount of revenue.
I think so too.
It's
hard to put a hard dollar amount on a marketing budget because it all depends on what you want. And it can come down to even something as simple as, a video versus a picture. Yeah. It's totally different pricing.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm going to just take like an average annual revenue for like a small company, with a really small team. So we're going to take $400,000 in annual revenue, right? Yeah. And if I multiply that times, 12%, that's $48,000 a year. Right. You could be spending on marketing. Yeah. Now, like you said, it varies, right? If you know that you only need to spend $12,000 a year to get that same amount of revenue, then maybe you don't. But if you want to double your revenue and you can handle that, then maybe you should increase your marketing spend.
Maybe you invest, right?
And so you've got to kind of play with that, that number to kind of decide like, okay, what should I be spending? What can I be spending?
Right. Yeah.
Like we always do, John, I'm going to leave everybody with a business growth hack.
All righty.
All right. There's a ratio, a formula that I always share with our customers that they always kind of get excited about. They're like, what? I never heard of that. It's called the LTV to CAC ratio. Okay.
That sounds really complicated.
Yeah, it sounds really crazy. It's LTV stands for lifetime value.
Okay. So how much overall
that customer's worth to you?
Okay.
People a lot of times are like, well, I don't know how much my customer's worth for me. I would tell you right now in your business, if you're trying to get your business to a point where if you ever wanted to sell it or have an investor or retire and pass that company on to someone else, you need to know what your lifetime value is. Yeah. Because it's what that customer is worth to you as a company.
Right. Yeah.
I can tell you guys, on average, our customers pay us, $500 a month. Okay. And I'm going to do some quick math here. If they're with us for 2 years, which typically our clients are with us much longer than that. Yeah. But I call it a 2-year window. I say, okay, my customer at the very least will be with me for 2 years. So I take $500 a month, multiply it times 24 months. Right. That customer is worth $12,000 to me. Right. That's not a lot of money. No. But it isn't a small amount either. No. Right. So $12,000, if I look at that number, it's like, okay, that's what that customer's worth to me. So that's our LTV, our lifetime value.
Okay, right, yeah.
Then our CAC, LTV to CAC, is our customer acquisition cost. Okay. Right? What does it cost to acquire the customer? Yeah. And so that's obviously the relationship between those two, right? An ideal LTV to CAC ratio should be a 3-to-1. Okay. So that means a customer should be 3 times more than the cost of acquiring them.
Gotcha.
Okay. So a good way to kind of do that backwards is I'm just going to take that $12,000 that I just told you our customer's worth and I'm going to divide it by 3. Yeah. So that means I could spend up to $4,000 to acquire a customer and it would be worth it. Right now.
Well, man, that gives you a budget right there, doesn't it?
Huge.
Doesn't that just give you a budget?
Right. And it's like, okay, cool. $4,000. Now, am I telling you every single customer at $12,000 value should be $4,000? No. It's not what I'm saying.
I'm saying that is the maximum that you should ever spend.
So like for me, I always look at that as my baseline for if I'm going to go do something stupid, like I'm going to go do a trade show or I'm going to go do a conference or something like that, where I'm going to have a booth and I'm going to spend a bunch of money. I should try not to spend spend more than $4,000. Right. Yeah. Because if I spend, let's just say $2,000 to get the booth or to rent the space, another $1,000 in promo, and another $1,000 in flights and blah, blah, blah. Because it's expensive to do that stuff, right? If I spend $4,000 and I go to that event and I don't get one customer, it didn't even pay for itself.
Right. So, and there's other factors too. Like, did your brand awareness really hold,
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, so when you look at, so now I go, okay, well, if I went there though, and I got 2 customers out of the deal, I made money, right? The first one paid for that event and profits.
Yep.
The second one, all profits. But if I do it and I get zero business, I'm never going to spend $4,000 on a trade show again.
No,
at least in that case. Or at the very least, I'm going to evaluate and say, well, what did I do wrong?
Right.
Was it me, or was it just that this wasn't the best fit?
Was it my setup? Was did we
have the right approach? Were we prepared? And that's where it's good to work with a marketing agency, because marketing agency a lot of time can help you.
We did this and it didn't work. We did that and it worked.
We've done this for a lot of clients, and we can kind of tell you the things that do and don't work, right? So what I love about that ratio is it really should give you a baseline of how much you could spend to acquire a customer.
Right.
And if your main purpose for the digital marketing spend is to acquire customers, as sales,
right? Then
you need to know that formula.
Yeah. If you don't, you're kind of wasting your time.
You're wasting your time and your money. Or you don't know how much that customer's worth for you, and you have no clue how much you're spending to try to get them.
Yeah.
Right. You're just exactly. And so I think what's also cool about that is if you can do it for even cheaper than that, badass. But it goes back to that same thing I talked about a minute ago. If you're spending way less than that, 3-to-1, and you're not seeing results,
then maybe you need to increase
it. Do that math. Figure out what that customer's worth for you.
Well, you've got some numbers that you can work with there. That is a pretty good rule of thumb, I think.
Yeah. If you're spending a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning, I spent $4,000 to acquire a $4,000 customer,
it's not going to even out.
Then you're I feel bad. I didn't mean to call you stupid or an idiot, but you're wasting money. You are not growing your business.
Right.
You're not gonna have the freedom that we talked about earlier in this episode.
You're not.
Because you're constantly gonna be like, well, I sold that thing. We had 100 sales this month.
I've sold this over and over again, but we didn't make any money.
All it's doing is paying for yourself.
Yeah.
All it's doing is paying. Like, it's not making you money.
It's a good way to sink a business right there.
Absolutely. It's a great way to get burned out. Right.
And in the same regard, spending that 1-to-1 ratio, if you're like way above, way outside of what it costs, you're losing money.
Again, right.
If every time you sign a client, you're losing money, you're just counting down days till you're closing doors.
Yeah. Because
that's all you're doing.
It's extreme on both ends, right?
Yeah.
Like, either you're just paying for the job you got and you're not making any profits.
Right.
Or you're just barely sustaining and you're like, well, we're busy. It's like, but can you hire 10 new employees?
No.
Can you get a new building that you want so that you can have a more productive operation?
Right.
Because if the answer is no to all those questions, starting a podcast, shameless plug every time. If you're not, then what's the point?
Yeah.
That's one of the questions I'll always ask in a kind of an initial marketing call is like, if what is something that you want in your business right now?
Yeah.
Oh, we want to hire 2 new people. It's like, okay, cool. Well, what would happen if you can't hire those 2 people? And they're like, well, we couldn't do as much as we're doing right now. And they're like, whatever. It's like, okay, now that we know that felt pain, now that we know that you really needed 2 people, we can work backwards from that. We can say, okay, backwards. I said that real Waller.
You did. I was gonna let it slide.
Can't let it slide, John.
Dude, I'm gonna have to make a accent button or something.
Yeah. Play some
Texas twang.
Texas twang. If you, I don't even know where I was going with that.
I got lost.
I got lost. It's okay. If you got what I was putting down there, awesome. If not, it's okay. I think this is a great place to wrap up. I want you guys to know that there is no right amount to spend on digital marketing.
No, you can't give
it. Looks different based on goals. It looks different based on purpose. The goal is to figure out how much you should invest. It should be, what do you want to get out of this?
Right.
What do you want to accomplish? Use that real growth hack I gave you guys today. That that LTV to CAC ratio to figure out what is the max you should be spending to get a customer. Work backwards from that to figure out how much you're currently spending. Right now, you guys could be spending way too much. Or maybe you're spending way too little.
Well, that's a simple thing that you could just analyze, and you could possibly double your profits. You got to be able to look at stuff. You got to be able to change. You got to be able to adapt. Adapt. I mean, otherwise you don't make it.
You're not going to take it to the next level.
When the environment changes, you will die out instead of move on and thrive.
Yep. Well, that's all there is to it for this episode. We will see you guys next week, like always. If you need more help with planning your digital marketing campaigns or just need any advice, you can hit me and John up anytime. We'd be happy to chat with you. We will see you guys later.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Business Growth Hacks Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. To get more marketing tips and tricks, follow Beefy Marketing on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Beefy Marketing. And to take your business to the next level, check out our website at www.beefymarketing.com.